welcome back to my channel. Please watch, subscribe, and like. Don't forget to share. Racing. But anyway, the girls were super duper excited. They couldn't wait to jump on the bus. And when they saw the bus come, they were screaming, "Yay, bus is here!" And yeah, we had to stand back to ensure that we don't get run over by the bus driver. But anyway, we all got onto the bus safely, and yeah, that's them, on the bus. Then we alighted the bus and walked onto the train station. They got lost, but I had to help navigate them back to the right path. And then they found their way into the station for me to purchase our ticket for us to then continue our journey. So yeah, that's me navigating them, to find their way to the counter where we could buy our ticket. Yeah, they were super excited. Finally, we got there and then we got our tickets. After I got our tickets, we found our platform 5. We had to jump on the train heading to Reading to help us then get to connect to the train going to Paddington. Yeah, I forgot to mention we were given activity park by Southwestern Rail, and I think it was a great idea actually this holiday for them to give activity park for kids because the kids were engaged. They had some coloring on there, read some riddles, and I also got engaged with them, in the activity where they had to read some riddles to me. Oh yeah, that was where the bus was moving, and one of the girls asked, "Is it moving backwards?" No, it's moving forward. It was such a brilliant time. I was super excited seeing their faces so chuffed, going on the train for this road trip to London. Yeah, so that's where we're reading some of the riddles within the park. But they had to stand up, you had to have the full experience on the train. Then they saw loads of bikes in Paddington. Then we saw this structure, don't know what it is. Then they took pictures right in front of Paddington Station. Oh God, how excited they were. Oh my goodness. Then we finally found our Airbnb and the girls were excited. So we then dropped our bags and we headed off to the British Museum. Oh my goodness, that truck sells ice cream for £7. I literally avoided it. But memorable pictures, you can see how pretty they look right in front of Selfridges. Then we thought, why don't we enter and wander around within Selfridges and see what they have there? Then we found ourselves in the fourth or fifth floor. I can't even remember now, to be honest. But they have the very last floor is filled with loads of kids' activity. Loads of toys for kids, loads of things to do. There was also a gentleman performing a bit of magic around there. These are pictures. Yeah, that's the gentleman there. He got them engaged for about 5 minutes, and he got them to try his magic as well because one of the little girls was quite curious to see how his magic is done, and he was nice enough to show them. They absolutely loved it. And yeah, we spent some time there. In total I think we spent about 15 minutes on that floor, if not running up to 20, because they kept wandering up and down, filling their eyes with fun activities. We don't really have to buy all those toys, especially the fact that they don't get to play with it more than 2 seconds of getting home. Kids will always be kids, but yeah, as parents, we need to learn to restrain ourselves from buying quite a lot, in my opinion. Now we saw Paddington, yeah, we had to raise our hearts just like he does. And yeah, and they saw their little friend from Mohana, and I don't know what character is that horse. I don't know, whatever. But anyway, they enjoyed seeing the horse. And what else did they do? They just wandered on. Oh yeah, we saw Bluey. Yay, Bluey. Then we found our way to Victoria and Albert Museum where they had quite a lot of activity for kids. They had the drawing section or the painting section where the kids spent quite a lot of time there. We met up with cousins as well. Um, and they had some very good time as well with their cousins, but they spent quite a lot of time doing some drawing here, which is good. I was pretty much surprised that they had that. Then we saw this bit here where you had to design your ring, and that kept them engaged for like 20 minutes, taking turns. And yeah, it was quite I liked this one. It was quite pleasant to see it. You know, that took us quite some time to get through, where you have to design your ring, choose the color, choose all the aesthetics that goes with it. You know, it was just back and forth, changing. For over 20 minutes, one child got hers done, the other child then got hers done. And I was like, okay, it's time to go. You know, but the point is, they were engaged, it kept them busy. Yeah, it was nice to see this sort of activity within a museum to keep them engaged, aside from just wandering around. I'm not even sure if all those museums are suitable for 6 to 7 year olds, in my opinion. But yeah, it's a good walk around to see and feel your eyes. But when you don't have this sort of activities distracting them, then I question if really those museums are pretty much valid. But anyway, they learn, you know, they learn. But this activity kept them engaged. They really loved it. They spent quite a lot of time taking turns, helping each other, and yeah, it was quite a good one. I liked it, but unfortunately, we couldn't take the rings that we designed away with us, and I think they kind of felt they were going to have the rings in the end. I'm not sure. Wishful thinking, I suppose. But anyway, they didn't get that. They didn't get the ring. Yeah, it actually took us a while, you know, going through this one after the other. But yeah, but anyway, they loved the activity. The museum on its own has quite a lot of structures and features to see. You know, it was quite big. I've never heard people talk so much about Victoria and Albert Museum. It's always the Natural History Museum or maybe the British Museum. I've never heard of it as such or being promoted or vastly spoken about, but I was pretty impressed with what I saw there, you know, as a museum. And it's free entry. You don't need to pay. You just walk in. There were not as many crowd, and there was no queue outside. You know, the Natural History Museum and the British Museum are quite popular, so you have quite a lot of people there. You know, which is why you have the queue. But with this one, there was no queue, you know. So there were quite a lot of structures. We took loads of pictures within there. They were impressed seeing all the structures, and they actually also respected the structures, not touching them or leaning on them. And yeah, this was at the Natural History Museum, which is right opposite Victoria and Albert Museum, where we went to as well. You know, yeah, we saw the dinosaurs. It's quite big, quite a walk around, you know, but very expensive. Blimey, take your water with you and maybe your snacks, except if you're ready to spend quite a lot of money. So, you know, paying for a ticket to get in will cost you. In the end, we ended up having some Chinese, very expensive Chinese, and found our way to Covent Garden. It was a fun time. So the second day was quite filled with fun-packed activities, walking around the street of Oxford Circus. You know, the girls